I'm sure there are a lot of you out there watching right now who are currently considering trying to turn this into a little extra income, whether it's part-time or whether you're trying to make the transition to full-time musician eventually. If you're anything like me, this is all you want to do with the rest of your life. If that is the case for you, you have 100% of my support. This is easily the coolest job you'll ever have in your whole life. But if you're going to do that, if that's the case, then it's important that, that you explore all of the different ways and opportunities that there are to make an income playing the drums. So in this video, I'm going to give you the top 5 ways that you can earn an extra income using the talents that you've been given. Number 1, teaching. Teaching is easily the most popular side hustle for full-time musicians and part-time musicians that have, real jobs outside of this for the time being. But teaching is probably the best and most lucrative way to earn an extra income playing the drums. You, of course, have a couple options. You can teach out of a facility, like a music store or a drum shop or something like that. Or you can teach privately out of your own home. I know a lot of dudes. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. I know a few guys, definitely a few guys, that are currently doing that. They're teaching out of either their basement or they have a separate garage from their house or something. And they're doing quite well, man. Like, some of these guys are really busy. They got a lot of students. So it's a really good sort of way to sort of stretch yourself. And teaching is cool too because you learn a lot about your own personality. You develop your communication skills quite a bit when you're teaching. So it's a really good option for you for just for a little bit of a side hustle outside of playing. There are pros and cons to both, obviously. So, I mean, if you decide you're going to teach out of a facility, the pro there is that you don't have to go out there and hustle for students. Like, your students will be provided for you. The downside, I guess, to that is that you don't get to keep all the money, right? So, I mean, whatever the facility charges for a half hour or however long the lessons are, you get a cut of that. But it'll balance out because you could very well end up with a lot more students, like 30, 40 students a week. So yeah, so that's pros and cons to teaching out of an establishment. If you want to teach out of your home, main advantage, of course, is whatever you charge is what you keep, which is cool. The con, I guess, to setting yourself up at home is that it'll take probably a lot longer for you to round up a decent number of students. Unless you're already, unless you have an established sort of reputation in your area. A lot of people know who you are and you have this rep of being a hot drummer. Once you announce that you've started teaching, you could clean up right away. But for most people that are just starting out, it'll take you a little bit to round up your students. But either way, teaching, whether at a facility or at your own place, good thing to do. Number 2, and this is sort of an extension of number 1, but another thing that you can consider doing is hiring yourself out as an independent clinician. So you don't necessarily have to be involved with any kind of companies. You don't need any endorsements to be able to put on a clinic in your area. I started doing clinics long before I got all my endorsements. And, as long as you know how to do it, it's really not that hard to do. I remember I used to do it through my community center. Like, if you're trying to do a clinic through like an in-store clinic or something like that, those can be hard to do if nobody knows who you are. So once you have representation behind you, a couple of drum companies or whatever, you get a little bit of pull, and it's just a little bit more of an attraction for people to come and check you out. But if you're doing something for your community, that's a whole different thing. So like I was saying, like I used to go to my community center and just rent out one of the rooms for a few hours. And then I would advertise that I'm putting on this drum clinic, $5, $10 a person, whatever. Do everything yourself. You go in there, they give you the keys to the room. You go set up all your chairs and your kit. And, if you need a PA, you do all of that stuff yourself, or, get a hired hand to help you out. But that's easily done on your own. Like, you don't need companies behind you to do that. Workshops as well. You can contact your local school board. If you want to offer your services for the school board, you can travel to different public schools or whatever, teach young kids about playing the drums. A lot of places will be totally open to doing that. You just got to find out the right channels to go. Just talk to the right people. You're always going to get pointed in the right direction eventually anyways. But that's another thing you can do. Like just, approach schools, colleges, whatever, and, put together a nice package and approach them and say, this is what I do. Are you interested? Number 3, online session work. This is one of the coolest ways to make a side income from your part-time job or during your downtime if you're a full-time player. Doing online sessions is really cool. And to a lot of people, even now, it's still a new idea. So online sessions is really cool. You need to set up your own studio setup, much like what I have here. It doesn't have to be super elaborate. If you want to check out how to set your room up, check this video here for details on how you can set up your own little sort of online studio rig. But that's a really great way to make a little extra money on the side. And with social media now being what it is, advertising your services is super easy. Like, you don't even really need a website. It'd be cool if you had one, but it's not 100% necessary. Start a Facebook page, jump on Instagram, you know what I mean? Like whatever other social media platforms you want to use to advertise your services. But yeah, if you're confident in your chops and your recording ability, and you can make your way around Pro Tools, Cubase, whatever software you're using, if you're already set up, it's super easy to get into. So yeah, number 3, man, online sessions, really good way to get some extra dough going. One thing that I definitely recommend all of you do at some point, grab a sheet of paper and write down all of your strengths and abilities. Doesn't make any difference what they are. Just write them all down. All the stuff that you're really good at other than this. And then take a look at the list and see how you can sort of integrate some of those ideas into this. I mean, there's always a way to marry 2 ideas, right? So, if you're a really good communicator, then clinics, workshops, teaching, that's going to be right up your alley, because a lot of this, what I'm doing here right now, is all about being able to communicate effectively with other people. So, if that's something that you're really good at, you might want to take a look at doing something like that. Another thing that I've always been really good at is writing music. Like, I actually started out on keyboards long before I got into drums. So I've always been, writing my own little tunes or whatever. So eventually I started writing play-along tracks for drummers. And as you know, or may not know, but I have 2 albums out that I sell online as practice tools for drummers. And it's something I'm just going to continue to do as just another hat that I have my hand dipped into. And it's just a really cool little extra way to make a little extra income. So that would be number 4, writing and selling music online. If you have that ability and you have the gear and everything else at home, that's something you might want to consider doing. It's a really sort of cool way that you can stay creative. You know what I mean? You're still involving this because the entire time you're writing these tracks, you're thinking about how you want people to play them and blah, blah, blah. Like there's a lot of advantages to just writing music in general, but it's also a very cool way to sort of involve that ability into this. And then number 5, of course, there's actually a reason why I saved this for last, but number 5 is gigging. One thing that I really sort of want you guys to get into your head is that gigging is not limited to just performing on stage behind an artist. It doesn't make any difference if you're in a wedding band, if you're playing a backyard barbecue, bar mitzvah, it doesn't make any difference what it is. As long as you set your kit up and you play your drums and at the end of the night somebody hands you money, that's a gig. The reason why I wanted to save gigging for last is because I wanted to present you with options that, that you could put before gigging, because you're not going to be gigging all the time. There could be 6 months going by before you get a phone call to do anything. So I learned, when I started doing this full time, one valuable lesson that I learned is to not rely on the gigging. That's the one thing that's kind of out of your control. So the other options that I presented to you, these are things that you can be proactive about, things that you can look into developing, starting on your own. You know what I mean? These are ways that can sort of provide you with a little bit more of a steady income than just, sitting at home waiting for the next email or phone call. So, I'm only saying that because I don't want you to get into this and get discouraged or feel like you need to quit because nobody's calling you. There are other things that you can do with this that doesn't involve playing on stage. So anyways, those are just 5 ways. Like, there are other things that if you really think hard enough, you can sort of get into, but these are the 5 that I wanted to present to you today. So hopefully they gave you some ideas. If you're looking to get into doing this, want to make a little bit extra money, explore any one of these 5 options or all of them. I actually recommend all of them, but if you want to start with a couple, go ahead and do it. More power to you. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Don't forget to support me on Patreon, or at least consider supporting me on Patreon if you're digging the content on this channel. Click the link below to see how you can support it and help me grow. And other than that, that's it. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. See you next video.